Justice League Mortal, 2007. George Miller, the mastermind behind Mad Max Fury Road, was just months away from filming what could have been DC's first true Avengers-level crossover. Justice League Mortal had a completed script, a full cast, costumes fitted, and even a fight choreography rehearsed. It was meant to be a completely separate universe from The Dark Knight and Superman Returns, with younger heroes who could grow into their roles. Armie Hammer was set to play Batman, DJ Cotrona as Superman, Megan Gale as Wonder Woman, Common as Green Lantern, and Adam Brody as The Flash. The story was inspired by Tower of Babel and Crisis on Infinite Earth, where Batman's paranoia leads to the League being turned against each other after his security system is hijacked by Maxwell Lord. It ends with The Flash sacrificing himself to save the team, but production was doomed by bad timing. The 2007 Writers Guild strike froze development, Australia pulled its tax rebate for not hiring enough locals, and Warner Brothers got cold feet after The Dark Knight became a phenomenon. The studio didn't want two different Batman confusing audiences. By 2008, Justice League Mortal was dead, even though it was just weeks away from filming.
You were involved trying to get a Justice League film once in a while. What's your take on what Zack Snyder is doing and all this DC cinematic universe?
Some of it's really interesting. Marvel has obviously taken the march on a lot of the DC. I'm a DC man myself.
Batman vs. Superman Asylum, 2001. More than a decade before the 2016 version, Warner Brothers was already planning a Batman vs. Superman movie. Directed by Wolfgang Peterson, this version would have been a dark and emotional clash between two broken heroes. The story began with Bruce Wayne retiring after losing Alfred, Gordon, and Robin. When the Joker kills his new wife, Bruce comes out of retirement for revenge. Meanwhile, Clark Kent, now divorced from Lois Lane, tries to stop him. Lex Luthor manipulates both heroes into fighting, but in the end, they unite to prevent a meteor from destroying Earth. The film almost went into production in 2003, with Johnny Depp and Josh Hartnett rumored for the lead roles. But Warner Brothers decided to focus on solo reboots instead, Batman Begins and Superman Returns. The project was quietly shelved, and only lived on as an Easter egg years later in I Am Legend, where a poster for the movie appeared in Times Square.
Let's go, Sam. Come on.
Zack Snyder's Justice League Part 2, 2017. When Zack Snyder began his Justice League saga, it was never meant to be just one film. Warner Brothers had actually approved a two-part story, with Part 2 set for release in 2019. Snyder envisioned a full arc that would bring the Nightmare timeline to life, showing Darkseid conquering Earth and Superman succumbing to the anti-life equation before the team rallies for one final stand. But after the troubled production of the first film, Snyder's personal exit, and Josh Whedon's divisive reshoots,
Alfred, I need the big gun. I had to. Yeah. Something is definitely bleeding.
the theatrical version underperformed both critically and financially. Even though Snyder eventually released his director's cut on HBO Max in 2021, Warner Brothers had already moved on. The sequel, and the entire Snyderverse, was officially cancelled after James Gunn and Peter Safran took control of the new DC universe. Batgirl, 2022. Few cancelled films have been as shocking as Batgirl. This wasn't a forgotten concept or a stalled script. It was fully filmed, edited, and a nearly completed movie. Directed by Adil El-Arbi and Bilal Fallah, I'm sorry if I butchered the names, the duo behind Bad Boys for Life, the film starred Leslie Grace as Barbara Gordon, J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon, Brendan Fraser as Firefly, and Michael Keaton returning as Batman. It was meant to premiere on HBO Max, but when Warner Brothers merged with Discovery in 2022, new CEO David Zaslav decided to scrap all mid-budget streaming exclusives. Batgirl was cancelled during post-production and written off as a tax deduction, making it one of the most expensive unreleased films in history. Even the directors learned the bad news on one of their wedding days. The movie was reportedly a grounded, detective-driven story about Barbara investigating her mother's death, but now it may never be seen.
I think a producer even told us that the first test screening was not even a real test screening. That's that we heard it later. Our producer told no, it was just like a private kind of screening thing. So
New Gods, 2018. Ava DuVernay was set to bring back Jack Kirby's cosmic mythology to life with New Gods. It would have explored the two warring planets of New Genesis and Apocalypse, featuring characters like Mr. Miracle, Big Barda, Granny Goodness, and the all-powerful Darkseid. The tone was described as DC's answer to Star Wars, mixing mythic storytelling with large-scale intergalactic conflict. The project had a completed script and full creative support from Warner Brothers. But after Zack Snyder's Justice League featured its own version of Darkseid, the studio grew hesitant about confusing audiences with two different portrayals. In April 2021, New Gods was officially cancelled. DuVernay later confirmed that Warner Brothers told her there was no room for two Darkseids at once.
And I loved New Gods, which is the project that got axed. The studio decided that they did not want to pursue a certain part of that comic world based on some things that were going on with another film in that world.
Justice League Dark, 2012. Guillermo del Toro nearly gave us a horror fantasy Justice League. Imagine a del Toro DC movie. Justice League Dark would have brought together DC's supernatural heroes, Constantine, Zatanna, Deadman, Swamp Thing, and Etrigan to combat mystical threats the regular Justice League couldn't handle. Del Toro completed a script and promised a visually stunning dark universe set apart from the DCEU. But like many of his projects, it got buried in development hell. Del Toro left the project in 2015 after years of delays, and the studio briefly brought in Edge of Tomorrow director Doug Liman, who also dropped out. In 2020, J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot tried to revive the idea as a series of HBO Max shows that would build toward the crossover. That version was also cancelled after the DCU reboot. As of now, only Constantine's rumored sequel with Keanu Reeves remains alive.
What's the status with the DC Universe movie that you...
I was doing one more rewrite on the plane here, still waiting for a writer that we like very much, and if he says yes, I think people are gonna be very happy.
Ben Affleck's The Batman, 2016. When Ben Affleck first appeared in Batman v Superman, Warner Brothers planned to give him his own solo film, written, directed, and starring Affleck himself. The script, co-written with Jeff Johns, was a gritty detective thriller featuring Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke as the main villain. It would have explored Batman's psychology and paranoia after the events of Justice League. Affleck even shot test footage of Deathstroke, but after the stressful production of Justice League and his own personal struggles, he stepped down as director. Matt Reeves took over and completely reimagined the movie as a standalone noir story with Robert Pattinson. The original Batman script, once described by insiders as the raid in Gotham, was left behind, and Affleck officially exited the role. Green Lantern Corps, 2016. After the disastrous 2011 Green Lantern movie, Warner Brothers wanted redemption. The studio planned a reboot titled Green Lantern Corps, focusing on Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart as dual protagonists. It was pitched as a lethal weapon in space, with David S. Goyer and Justin Rhodes writing the script and a release date set for 2020. The project was meant to relaunch the cosmic side of the DCEU, with rumors of appearances by Batman and even Ryan Reynolds in a cameo as a background lantern. But development dragged on as the DCEU's direction changed. By the time James Gunn took over, the film was scrapped in favor of a new HBO series titled simply Lanterns, now in development for the rebooted DCEU. That's 8 minutes. Thank you for watching. Like the video and don't forget to subscribe for more flops.